GM once again. I thought I was sharing the right screen and I am sharing absolutely nothing, but that will not stop us. Welcome to the stream. It is a beautiful Monday morning. GM Lutz, thank you so much for stopping by. I don't think I have streamed since New York came back, but maybe I did, but I have not streamed since the effects of the New York comeback have really hit us. And we're now at 61.6% fill rate on the puppy, which has definitely seen a spike since our friends over in New York are back. But that's not why you're here, folks. You are here to rip some drafts to see what is going on in best ball. I'm going to try to hop into a 30-second puppy, and let's see. Waiting for 9 might be kind of brutal this early in the morning. Let's see. The 20-second puppies tend to fire pretty quick, even at this hour. So if we have to swap over to a 20, I will do that because I do not want to sit here and just waste time. So I'm going to jump out of this and move over to a 20-second version and see if we have any more luck over there. Let's see what happens here. If not, I can check the Schnauzer, although Schnauzers are all right, waiting for 3. So we're just going to hop into this one here. If anyone wants to hop in, please feel free. Hopping +1 for, oh, nope, we're live. All right. I was going to see if anyone wanted to hop in, but we are off. Running some streams. Shoot. All right, let's see. We have the 7 hole. Sorry, I am typing over in the Matic Discord, letting them know that I've gone live over here. But looks like we've got the 7 hole. My trend of drafting not at the front of the draft continues. I have really not done a whole lot of drafts from the 1, 2, and 3 somehow, and I have halfway done with my puppies. It's been kind of weird, but hopefully BBM is a little more even than my puppy draft positions, at least. Well, I mean, I say hopefully, but who knows? Maybe the front half of the draft has some doesn't end up being what you need to get through. But it's been a little strange. I feel like I've drafted a lot of like from the same spot lately on the YT machine. Anyone wants to hang before breakfast? All right. As we all know, Pete comes on at 10 with Best Ball Breakfast. So I am going to just try to get in 2 or 3 drafts before he goes live, because I will be, like all of you, watching that stream when that fires up. CLN 2013, thank you so much for hopping in. Welcome. Congratulations on getting your streaming journey started. It's really cool. And, it is a big leap to finally, put yourself out there and just start doing it, start drafting in front of people, put yourself in front of people. It's a lot. It is not easy. I have so much respect for anyone who is doing this. And honestly, I think it's good for the community. I think best ball is growing. I think, this is one of the, there is a much better sense of community in best ball than there is in, DFS, where it feels a little more dog eat dog. I think people put their like plays a little closer to the vest. And that was kind of my background. I felt very lone wolf, but here, people literally just stream what they're drafting. And it is kind of refreshing because, if I have this one draft, it's not like someone can go out and emulate exactly what I'm doing. And if they do, more power to them, because there's just so many variables. And it doesn't feel like quite the zero-sum game that kind of what DFS turned into a little bit. GM James Young, thank you so much for coming by. Best Ball on Call, thank you as always. One of the real ones, thank you for coming in. Crander 47, thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, and that's the other thing is we literally, everybody here has accepted they're going to lose. We don't have that like, no, I'm the guy, I'm going to win. We're all going to lose, but at least we're going to have fun. We're going to build some teams and some structures and just see what happens. And, this is to me, fantasy football, my favorite part of it, my, sweaty season-long leagues, it's always the draft. The draft is the most fun thing, and this is all we're doing here. So I kind of like the Puka Lad starts. By ADP, it's A-Chain. Jonathan Taylor, you know, I think I'll just do A-Chain. I had not taken a ton of him in pre-draft stuff. I hope I didn't just take 2 week 12 buys. Did I? No. Okay. I mean, not that that matters that much, but I didn't take a ton of A-Chain pre-draft. I was worried that the Dolphins were going to add somebody with maybe a little more draft capital than Ollie Gordon got. And I've talked myself into, if I think the Dolphins are going to be better, then there's certainly a good opportunity for A-Chain to kind of revert to what he was 2 years ago. I think Ollie Gordon is the perfect complement to him more than Wright, who I think Wright felt a little bit like discount A-Chain without like any of the talent. Whereas Ollie Gordon's a big boy. If they want to give him those, bruising, short yardage situations, some of the work on first down, maybe A-Chain is not at his best at the goal line, but the Dolphins still will run some packages with A-Chain around the goal line. I feel like McDaniel likes to do that. So I'm not worried about A-Chain's touchdown equity getting completely hoovered up, but I think if Gordon is the number 2, it's going to take a lot of the wear and tear off of him. So I've been taking more A-Chain lately. That's a lengthy way of saying that. So we got 2 people going robust RB. I almost feel like this. There's definitely more talk about early RBs and robust RBs in the best ball space than there had been. And I don't know if, some of the 0 RB is the way, orthodoxy is being shattered, but I've definitely seen people not afraid. It's also, I think the draft board kind of falls that way, where I'm much happier taking Jonathan Taylor or Bucky Irving at the late second round than I am T Higgins or MHJ. I just think I think the drop off at running back is pretty severe. Now, Co Bryan going triple running back. My goodness, that is extremely high T. Kind of a weird spot for me because I kind of hate all of my options. This is brutal. I don't want Puka and Adams. I don't want Kyron. I'm not big on Tyreek. I'll take Tyreek, and we're just going to have a massive bet on the Dolphins. Yeah, frankly, I have serious concerns about Hill. He's a guy I'm trying to angle to get around 4% of. But this spot in the draft, I would have really liked to have gotten McLaurin or JSN there, because once you take Puka, I'm not really big on going Puka Adams. I mean, certainly it could work, but that's, to me, it feels a little thin going them as your 1 and 2 receiver. I mean, again, obviously it can get there, and they could have a pretty prolific passing game. By the same token, I just went A-Chain Hill. So I am, instead of picking the team that seems to be a little more have their stuff together, I picked the Dolphins, who are projected to be pretty lousy. But we're gonna hope they're not. We are gonna hope they're not on this team, and we're going to go A-Chain Hill. Buck GM, thank you so much for coming by. I hope I make actual arguments today. And I don't have you. I don't have you telling me that I'm just straight up wrong on my own channel, but that does seem to happen sometimes. So we're gonna see how we do. I think you could definitely go 2 RB in the first 6 as long as you commit to 0 tight end and 2 to 3 QBs in the 100 to 150 pocket. Yeah, I do worry sometimes about getting like super rigid with that kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I mean, you could potentially take an early tight end and then just end with 2 tight ends. It also, a lot of it depends on that range around pick 100, between 100 and 120. If you get lucky and get a falling wide receiver, I think you can catch up reasonably well, but it can be a little 50-50. We are on the clock. Interesting spot here. I could take Hampton. I'm kind of talking myself into some of this earlier than later running back. We have people taking tons of backs, so I'm going to try to take Hampton here and see what happens. I like that both my running backs are week 12. That's always fun because you can look forward to checking your team and seeing it plummet. But you know what? We're not going to be bye week bros here on this channel. We simply, life is too short to worry about bye week. Skeletor, GM Cadillac, love that. Thank you so much for coming by. GM, unfortunately, yes, I am a Dolphins fan. But I'm like the most pessimistic Dolphins fan. I assume we are going to 0 every year, and so far that served me pretty well. We're terrible every single year. Whether we have hope or not, we're bad. Keep yourself in line and you won't have problems. Thank you, Buck. I will do my best. Tyreek in the 30s could be one of the biggest values on the board. Yeah, that's why I'm not like full fading, because it could look pretty stupid that the guy we took at 103 last year, we're like scared to take him, in the middle of the 3rd round. Weird season, the arrest thing. He hurt his wrist during a scrimmage before the season started. Now, is that going to make him slow? Shouldn't. He didn't seem like he was quite as fast out there. I know some of his speed numbers weren't as good, but those are only measured if you actually get the ball, and he wasn't getting the ball. So was he not getting the ball because he was slow or because the offense was terrible? I guess we'll find out this season. We will find out. It could also be the worst pick on the board. Yes, Artillery Frost. Exactly. And that's how I've generally been treating it. But you know what? We are trying it. One of Waddle or Tyreek are mispriced. I could definitely see that. And if Hill, falls off or gets traded, then Waddle is going to be a huge winner. I don't think I want to add Waddle to this crew, as exciting as that would be. That might just be too many Dolphins. I think I'm going to take George Kittle here. This enables me to just feel pretty good stopping at 2 tight ends. I think Kittle is one of the better clicks on the board. I kind of like San Francisco's playoff schedule this season, get a little bit of ADP value, and, no problem with him there. I'm picking next at 66 and 79. And if we look in the ADP range, should be able to pick up, at least another running back and wide receiver that we're happy with in that range. Did I take too many detours at wide receiver this far? I don't know. Jimmy McGill, however, 8 in the 6th hole is a 0 RB. He might be a proud member of the best ball intelligentsia. Him and Cutler, just 5 wide receivers in a row. Someone said that was a good thing to do, and they are doing it. The wide receiver cliff around pick 100, which is why I think you can get away with 2 RBs early, but it's just one build path I'm trying to vary my my build structures too. I think that was one of my big takeaways last year, is just trying different stuff. In all likelihood, one build structure is going to end up being, pretty clearly better than the others, but there's no way to project what that's going to be. And being that I'm going to be drafting pretty heavy volume, I kind of want to just try a lot of different things, and I'm going to draft some pretty bad teams. That's going to happen no matter what. I know Buck, I can hear you laughing at me. I mean, some of these structures are just not going to work out. I've tried a couple hyper fragile things, and when I'm done, I'm like, this is terrible. And then I've had a few hyper fragiles where I'm like, this, if these running backs stay healthy, this team is going to make some noise. So, I like the idea of not being rigid with your with the way you're structuring, and kind of trying to let the draft come to you as much as possible. In the ideal world, we'll get a running back who doesn't have by week 12 by ADP. Kind of a weird range. James Conner interests me. They didn't add another back, if I'm not mistaken. So it's really just him and Benson there. Debo makes sense. I think he could be pretty good. A little bit of ADP value on Olave. I think I'm going to take, you know what? We're going to risk it. We're going to take Chris Olave, a little bit of a riskier play because of the uncertainty at quarterback in New Orleans. But there's a few of the running backs I like around picks 100 to 120 more than gambling on receiver being there. And again, Olave is a guy we were taking quite a bit earlier last year. So I'm willing to take a risk here. Again, I'm not trying to take a huge stand on Olave because, the concussion risk is one thing, the QB risk is another. So I don't think he's mispriced now. I think he may look very mispriced if he ends up being good. Well, it'll look silly that we took him this late. But also, he has a concussion week 2 and is, on the IR. We're going to say, yeah, obviously you dingbat. You took a guy that we knew was, chronically fighting concussions on an offense that we are not excited about. So I think he's priced well for the risk he has. So far we've got Puka, Tyreek, and Olave at receiver, Devon Achane, and Omari and Hampton at running back, with George Kittle holding it down at tight end. So let's see what happens. We're coming back around. This is the first year I'm starting to be in on Olave's ADP. Yeah, I think he's worth the flyer here. He was kind of felt a little overpriced going into last season, and I think you're right. It's definitely a more palatable click where we're getting him here now. So in this case, I like a few of these guys. I would have taken Golden probably. I'm pretty big on Tony Pollard, probably more so than Diggs. I'm going to add Pollard here to this team. I do like the idea of having a running back in the flex where possible, because I think just Underdog is definitely rewards touchdowns a little more than DraftKings does, with it being half PPR site. I think it seems like running back hits your flex a little bit more. I don't have any problem starting with 4 wide receiver. I just think coming up, there's going to be a few picks where we can make that up. I think the Titans are going to be a lot better this season, so he's a guy I've been targeting. So if I can get him around ADP, I am happy with that. Again, I'm not always trying to get three running backs before I get my 4th receiver, but the way the board fell, I was more excited about Pollard than any of those receiving options once Golden went by. Oh, I skipped a couple of you guys. James says, I think the early running back phenomenon is just misplaced broad beta, mostly nerds assuming RBs are interchangeable based on ADP, not separated by their talent situation. Yeah, I think it's easy to kind of overfit what we've seen in the past with running backs, especially last season. It will be interesting to see. Again, it's just like injuries and just randomness can really, skew data, and you can make the data kind of say what you want, at least as far as like how you draft early. So very early on, I'm really just trying to go more by ADP. Being traded as Steelers, another concern. That is an extinction level event for us Olave people. I really hope he does not go to the Steelers. And if he does, then I sincerely hope he has an affinity for conspiracy theories and that sort of thing, so that he can become friends with Aaron Rodgers, who I imagine is probably going to be the next quarterback. I'm going to take Luther Burden here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say that he is the new Amon-Ra St. Brown of the of the Bears, and we're rocking and rolling with that pick. But no, I do like Burden there. Had I needed a running back, B-Rob, I was expecting him to get a little more competition than Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, but I'm still not really in on Brian Robinson at his price. He was kind of, getting less usage late in the season last year, losing snaps to McNichol. I'm a little hesitant on B-Rob, but the fact that they didn't bring in anyone, anyone significant is a good sign for him. So I'm not like fully out on him. Scatabo, I love Scatabo. I will never be upset if I get a Cam Scatabo share. So let's look at the board. Our mega running back Cutler keeps taking wide receivers. He has 7 wide receivers through 8. So some people just they have their builds they like. Meanwhile, Jimmy McGill, he lost his nerve after 5 wide receivers and took 3 running backs. So, do you think Kittle loses any of his upside with CMC on the field? No, I don't. I mean, I think that the whole offense is better when they're at full health. I mean, I think I think there's potential that Kittle's asked to block a little less if the offense is kind of humming and healthy. So that's not really, to me, too much of a concern. But if there is a big Niner fan in here, I am happy to hear differing opinions. If I could get Trey Harris here, I think I'd be pretty excited. Obviously, an argument I could take Caleb to stack. That was unfortunate. I would have liked that. I'm going to take a guy that I think if you're doing a slappy spectrum, Michael Pittman Jr. has to be pretty far right. Nobody is ever excited to take Michael Pittman, but he does tend to just kind of produce, and he seems to have a pretty good rapport with A-Rich. So I don't know. It sounds like his back injury is behind him. At 103, I'm willing to take the risk. I mean, this is a pretty consistent, 1,000-ish yard receiver when he's healthy. Not a guy you hear talked about very much. Josh Downs is sort of the guy we all want to be good, but I don't know. I'm happy to take him. GM Tiger Uppercut, thank you so much for coming by. JT Best Ball, I have been in on 10 at ADP and 10. I don't know who you mean, JT Best Ball. I apologize. I am. It is hard to do these with the 22nd draft. I'm not sure who you mean. Tiger Uppercut says, add 3 touchdowns to any Steelers wide receiver production if they think the moon landing was fake. That's what I'm talking about. We need Olave out there, in the conspiracy theories streets. Tyler Mornin, Bubba, I imagine he means Tennessee. Yes. Thank you, Tyler. I like the Titans players this year. I am pretty in on that. I have a running back that I am significantly more excited about than anyone else. I'm afraid to say the name out loud for fear that Bayshell Tootin will just vaporize in front of me and I will have to pick somebody else, but he would be my click. We are going to windmill in Tootin. It could be, I don't hate taking Harris here. I think you could potentially handcuff those two. Definitely, if you want to start an argument on the internet, you could say, you like to do that. There is, I think, going to be a lot of rushing touchdown equity in for the Chargers. I don't think this was the team to do that on, but I think Najee's ADP is low enough because in all likelihood, Najee is going to start the season as the quasi starter. I don't think he's just going to get completely shoved in a locker by Hampton. But again, I love Tootin. I think he is a potential smash this season. So we will see. Titans. I posted when you made the power pick. Yes, I'm sorry. Chat is rolling today. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I like a lot of the Titans pieces. I'm in on Ridley. I'm in on Pollard. I'm in on Cam Ward. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Io Manor becomes a thing or not. I haven't really taken much of him post draft, but see if any of the ancillary pieces get there. I don't mind Chig as a late tight end click myself. So what do we need? We need eventually we'll need a quarterback, another tight end at a certain point. Let's see. Yeah, there's a few options on this board I like. And when I was talking earlier about, a running back faller at 127, you can get a draft where you get here and there's no Kyle Williams and no Betch. And I am so much happier clicking them than Kirk or Brown if I'm trying to add a receiver. Here, Tyler Warren wouldn't be bad if those two receivers go. I wouldn't mind adding Warren because I've got a little bit of a bet on Indy here. I think I'm going to take Kyle Williams. There's a possibility Drake May falls. At least now I feel pretty good about my receiver room. This will, in all likelihood, unless I get sniped, will be a Tua team. Potentially Tua and Stafford. So we'll see. At least if you start with a Dolphins build, Tua goes late enough to where you can push QB. And if you're right about the Dolphins, then you've, been able to take guys other than quarterbacks in this range, which I like. Tyler says, if Greg Roman offenses threw to RB more, it would be viable at cost, but sadly not the case. So I think it's one or the other of the Chargers running backs. I think that's right. And it's sad because Herbert did used to throw to the backs before Roman got there. I mean, I think there was one season where Eckler overlapped with Herbert, one of the years that Eckler had just a monster receiving season. And yeah, we haven't really seen that. I mean, I am holding out a little bit of hope that it is a little bit of a personnel thing where, Roman might be a little more flexible if he has some running backs with pass catching chops. I mean, their running game, you're not throwing a ball to Gus Edwards, maybe Dobbins a little bit, but I don't think he's, I don't think that's necessarily his game either. So, we'll see. Hopefully, hopefully there is a little bit of upside in that department from the running backs there. Let's see. Let me make sure. What's your, I have his bye week covered and I don't know all the, Kraft just went. All right. You know what? I'm going to take Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert is a better click than Fergie. So we'll take Goddard there and probably be done at tight end, assuming, again, my webcam is blocking the bye weeks for my for my tight ends. If you're wondering what the heck I was doing there. Haven't been taking the Titans rookie, but we'll throw Lockett on a Ward and a 20th round DK. I can't take Lockett. I just can't do it. If he's who I need, if he's like somehow turned back the clock into like, a Thielen-y kind of thing, I just think he turned to dust. I think he drew the black marble and it's over. I don't know. I could be wrong. I can't say that anybody who right now projects to actually be on the field is a bad pick in the 20th round. That's not like, I don't think that's a smart way to go about things, but he is definitely, he's definitely a name I have a lot of trouble with currently. But who knows, if camp comes out and it, he really is kind of locked in that second receiver role, then there, he could be the kind of guy that a rookie quarterback is targeting and makes sense. But, right now, at least in 18 round drafts, I'm off of him. I haven't done a ton of drafts over on DK myself. At this point, I don't think I try to push Tua. If this guy takes Tua, that is pretty horrible. Oh, why did you take Tua? Okay, that was bad. That was bad. Now what do I do? I'm just going to take Cam Ward because I think there's a little bit of rushing upside, and maybe we're going to uncover one of the late. Sorry, I had no backup plan. The plan was Tua, and once Tua got taken, it was kind of Jover here. That was unfortunate. So maybe we're gonna discover the magic of Tyler Lockett on this team. That could have been some instant karma. Greg GM's gang. That was and his name was Bad Karma 98. You hate to see it. Show team incoming. Oh, I don't know why. Why do bad things happen to good people? It is the philosophical questions that we try to answer here on this channel. I'm going to queue up Stafford because I need Staffy on this team. Tyler Show, Tyler Show and A-Rich, holding it down. My God, what has happened to us? Yeah, Richardson and Show. Yeah, CLN, you nailed it. This is grim. This is grim, but this is what happens, and I comfort myself with the BBM 4 winner got sniped on QB stack and it worked out for him. So surely this is analogous here. Yeah, Richardson and Show time. Shows. Yeah, it's bad. It is bad, but what can you do? What can you do? What other positions do we need? Probably, I guess it'll depend how many quarterbacks we end up with. I think I'm fine ending with Kittle and Goddard. I don't think I want to add another tight end unless I'm like really hurting for a back stack. I guess I could take Chig to stack with Ward, but I don't really like forcing the tight end just so that you like check the stack box. I don't think that's I. Oh my God! And then he took Stafford. Dear God, people, dear God. I'm just I'm just taking A Rich now, because I'm a desperate and sad man, and I don't want to go into week one with just Cam Ward and Tyler Show. I could have taken Bryce Young, but there's so many good stacking partners with Young. I have a hard time with naked Young being the thing. If you haven't built one of these, you aren't trying. No, this happens. This happens, and it is part of the fun. I say fun, gritting through the teeth. Like we are having fun, guys. We're having fun. BBM4 when I got sniped 2x, leading back to the skinny back sacks with rookies. Yeah, I thought it was twice sounds right. I don't remember. I know Jordan Love was involved, and I can't remember if that's who he got or who he got sniped on. I need to remember the lore because we should remember our history here. Ryan GM Gents Show has the same bye week as Richardson. I simply can no longer worry about bye weeks. I just need people who are playing the position and will be have somewhat of a pulse on this team. I wouldn't mind adding Roshan. I've been taking quite a bit of him. I think the Chicago backfield, we really don't know what's going to happen, but getting a potential piece of what we think is going to be a better offense makes sense. And I've got, Luther Burden in there. We all know Ben Johnson's history with Swift is a little bit checkered. So taking a flyer on Johnson, not a name that I don't like too much. Let's see. Roshan goes because everything I love simply must get taken from me. I could take this is disgusting. I could take Jackson Dart and then Slayton could do that. This is unfortunate. I'm just taking Tyler Show now. I'm just going to do it. And I say this because this clump of receivers, I should have taken Alec Pierce. Oh my God. All right, guys, I'm making some mistakes here. With the 20-second clock. This is why we wanted to do 30. Alec Pierce would have been the move because A-Rich does love his long ball to Pierce, and Pierce is unironically a better and best ball player. So I think that that would have been better than Tyler Show, who's gonna who just really is a name I am never happy getting clicked on. That's okay. I'm it's okay. It is okay. I think he got sniped on Dak or Goff as well. Okay, that makes sense. Wandale and Dart goes crazy in these streets. Yeah. Crazy being a relative term. Yeah, CLN 2013. This is not my finest hour, but that's okay. They can't all be winners. Alec Pierce does randomly fall, but because anyone I seem to be targeting in this draft just gets ripped away from me, then I do not have a lot of faith that he will fall to me. People are already taking. Oh my God, what are we doing here? You're okay. I can't blame him because he has unironically has QJ on his team. So some people just can't be helped. Some people can't be helped. As I take Darius Slayton, you know what? I should take Io Manor, where we will just, build a fig leaf stack here with Cam Ward. Pretty disgusting stuff. And then I'm going to end this draft with two running backs here. And honestly, if anyone has any late round running backs that they are in on, we can try to get them on the team. And you know what? I meant to start the Ducks. All right. Let's see if that works out. Strepo over Io Manor. Greg, I think it's entirely possible to be to be perfectly honest with you. But I'm trying to vary who I take. And again, this draft, what we don't want is anything good happening in this draft. But I was reading some early articles about Restrepo looking good in minicamp. Again, you cannot take the minicamp stuff all that seriously, because it really is all just like fluff pieces, and they're just competing against each other. But there is a chance with the rapport that Ward has with Restrepo that ends up becoming a thing. And, it is one of those things that projecting what's going to happen late season in Tennessee, if they're bad but not horrible, you could see, some of those later rookies mixing in more. And that could definitely include like Restrepo. I could see Restrepo not playing for the first few weeks, but, picking up snap share, late in this season. I don't think there are any backs that I desperately need or make tons of sense compared to any others. So I'm just going to try to mix in different guys. One of them will be Jordan James in the ideal world. It's because they both played together at Washington State. I think Io Minor is still the best rookie talent Tennessee has. Yeah, it concerns me a little that he kind of fell in the draft a bit more than we were expecting. And so I do have some concern with that many teams passing over him, that Io Minor might not be that great. Obviously, everybody passed on Restrepo, so he's probably not that great either. But it might be pretty close, unfortunately, because I was pretty high on Io Minor before. Like in the big board, I have a fair amount of him. Lay the House RM, thank you so much for coming by. One of the better ones in the betting space out there. Great follow on Twitter. If you don't follow Lay the House RM, he's a good dude. He's a good dude, and you should follow him. Thank you so much for coming by. We're going to be taking one more running back here. I will review the team, because then I'm going to try to hop into a 30-second something, because it is tough. It is tough in these 20-second streets while streaming. So we've got Cam Ward, A-Rich, and Tyler Show. Pretty disgusting QB room. Running backs of A-Chain, Hampton, Tony Pollard, Bashal Tootin, Jordan James, and then a mystery sixth running back, probably, might be Restrepo. Stay tuned. Wide receiver room of Puka, Tyreek, Chris Olave, Luther Burden, Michael Pittman, Kyle Williams, and Io Minor, and tight ends of Kittle and Goddard. I almost feel like this is a 5 running back team, and then I should take a 6th receiver. I'm talking myself into that making sense here. I almost feel like Slayton actually. Chig wouldn't be a terrible shout. I don't hate that. I don't know. I've actually got a few options here. You know what? I'm going to take Chig. I think Chig might be one of the higher end passing options over in Tennessee, and I don't hate ending with the 3 tight ends there. So kind of a wild card came up at the end. Greg asked, how did golf go for you, Chad? Any albatrosses still alive? Well, John Rahm was my biggest position before, and it looked very good until that putt somehow didn't fall on 13, and then he just completely unraveled. And I also had Poston and Rahm on my DK teams, who played the last 2 holes 6 over par. So I min cashed my DK stuff. Hold on, let me join this puppy. I'm going to join a 30-second puppy and see. Waiting for 6. So I'll sit here for a minute. If anyone wants to hop into this, feel free. I think if we can fire this 30 seconds soon, then we'll do it. I will let anyone know if I'm going to jump out. But again, with Best Ball Breakfast starting at 10, I do want to make sure that we get this done. So again, this really needs to go in the next 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, and so I had 31 Albatross teams alive and only 2 survived. It was bad. Terrible advance rate in the Albatross. Rom going down in flames cost a few teams down the stretch, and I ran really badly with getting the 101 in the Albatross. I somehow only had like 8% Scotty, and I 150 maxed it. It was like impossible. I just wouldn't get the 101, so I had no Scotties left, and so it was a tough go. What madness is this on a Monday, Kevin? Thank you for coming by. Yes, we're here in a 30-second puppy. If you want to hop in, yeah, ouch indeed. Yeah, it was brutal. I did win a 555 best ball ticket on DK in a Sadie, so I will be able to run at least one 555. I usually don't play those unless I win tickets to them, because that adds up quick. That adds up quick. My only survivor has Horschel and Ricky pretty much carrying zeros, but we got 1 bullet left. Sometimes that's all it takes. I mean, you just got to get through. I can't remember if it's actually fewer teams you have to get by in this round of the playoffs or not. But yeah, no, I mean, at least you got 1 in the semis. But yeah, it's pretty bad for me getting 2 out of 31 through. Waiting for 4 in a 30-second puppy. All right, see if we can get anyone in. Are you running golf sims? No, I am not. I've considered it, but I kind of I just do one lineup every week. I don't multi-table. So if I'm gonna hand build my one lineup, I'm fine just doing it. I mean, that's probably bad, right? Like, I think the Sims have shown they're gonna be, they're extremely useful tool. I'm gonna use Sims this year in NFL DFS. I did not last, but I'm gonna capitulate to the Sims Bros this season. All right, waiting for 3. See if anyone wants to hop in. This will be the last draft before Best Ball Breakfast begins. I guess in the meantime, if anyone is interested in, I can pull up my my exposures post draft. Let's see what we've got. And this should surprise nobody. A lot of Cam Scatterbo, a lot of Luther Burden, a lot of Bayshell Tootin. I don't know why I have 26% Travion Henderson, to be honest with you. I don't even have a strong opinion on him. I guess, I need to stop clicking him in that range. Late round clicks of Roshan and Giddens make sense. I went through a Tucker Craft phase, but I'm kind of cooled on that a little bit. Yeah, Golden, McMillan, JMO, London. This does not surprise me. I'm pretty high on those guys, so I'm happy to be, over market on them. Hartman says, GM. Kevin warning me about the Sims. The Sims are not going to help you if you don't make your own projections or use and edit someone else's. Yeah, no, I think you have to, because otherwise, back in, I'll use this analogy. Back in law school, I was the guy who everybody used their notes. I would give anyone my notes, and I'm like, well, I'm not worried that you're going to do better than me with my own notes, so you can have them. So again, I don't think anyone is going to do better than you with your, that sounded way douchier than I meant. And it was actually people would miss class and I would give them notes. Like, it was a nice thing. But other people who were like the gunners and were competitive would be like, you shouldn't do that. They're, we're all graded on a curve. I'm like, they're not going to, I wrote it down. If they're not going to, it's fine. But yeah, if you use someone else's projections, you're just using someone else's notes. It's going to be, there's a ceiling to how well you can do. I speak from experience. My wins and best places were all hand builds. To me, it's a lot more fun to hand build. But I don't know. I mean, I think I'm not in that space of the stratospheric, super high volume, trying to grind every edge, where it's like a job. This still does have an element of fun in it to me. So let's see. Waiting for 2. 2 more. See if we can get anyone else in here. I remember the good old days of hand building 150 million maker lineups in 2014. Yeah, we lived through the good old days and we did not even know it back in the 2014, 2015 times. It was such a different game then. Like the concept of stacking was this just like revolutionary idea that people like weren't doing. People were playing NFL DFS like a 10-leg parlay, and it was definitely easier to do well. And you also had like way more casuals playing. I mean, DraftKings used to advertise so much. I remember like every other ad on, when you were watching sports was a DraftKings ad, and they've definitely cracked down on that. And again, a lot like poker, you get survivorship bias. So people that, are unprofitable eventually do leave, and it just becomes harder and harder. And, it's tough. And yeah, the defense wide receiver stacks hit so far. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's funny that people do it in cash games. And I still am just like ideologically opposed to doing that. So I am here at the 6th hole, and it looks like we've got Kevin at the 12 and CLN 2013 at the 11. So it's going to be a little bit of a battle over here on the back half of the draft board. If anyone else got in here, let me know. I am happy to shout you out. I need to do the satellites this season. Yeah, saddying into the bigger stuff is nice. Like, again, like I said, like I will not play the 555 best ball if I don't saddy in, and so I'm happy I'm happy I was able to get in that way. 13 seconds till the draft starts. Again, very hard for me to get picks in the top 4. It just does not seem to happen. All that much for some reason, but that's okay. That is okay. So we're going to try to construct a better team than last time, especially with the quarterbacks. That was a shame. So the good news is Underdog did institute the automatic autopilot after 2 missed non-queued picks. That is a huge change, especially in these, especially in the 30-second rooms where, one person auto drafting added 10 minutes to a draft, which was pretty horrible. So glad that happened. So hopefully we can be done at 10, in the ideal world 42 minutes. I think that's doable. It might line up perfectly. Again, this is like the Sunday night heat coming on before the pay-per-view. Normally Sunday night heat, not very good, but when there's a pay-per-view on, you'd want to watch it because they would lead right into the pay-per-view. And that's what we've got here today. We are the Sunday night heat of best ball. Not very good, but there's something really cool coming on after, which is Pete's stream. I say that facetiously. I think we're doing awesome, and I love all of you guys coming by and having some fun here, and especially when I get CD Lamb at the 6, then things are really looking up. All of my picks are in the back 4, and I can't complain yet. I do want my Chase and Jefferson teams plus Bijan. Yeah. Again, for me, it's a little more important for BBMs. Like, I do hope that I end up kind of with like a somewhat even. You're not going to just end up with like exactly 16 teams at each spot, or whatever the math is. You're not going to get like perfectly smooth, but hopefully it is somewhat. I can get somewhere near market on all of the guys in the first round, because I'm not trying to take big stands here. I think that is a track to getting you into trouble. CLN taking Neighbors, Kevin taking Nico Collins. Again, I've said this. I think it is nice that Gene T moved into the first, because now everybody can get one of this kind of elite tier of receiver. This Amon-Ra, Neighbors, Nico, BTJ. When you're at the 12 hole, I do think it's made the 12 hole a little bit more better of a spot than it was before. At least it feels like it. It feels like you have a little more choice as to what you do there. JG All Day builds his CMC Bowers. We are up. I'm not going to take A-Chain here. I'm going to take our guy, Jonathan Taylor here. So, yeah, happy to do that. Yeah, I think in my heart of hearts, I like JT a little more than A-Chain. Again, I don't want to end up with no A-Chain. I also don't want to go off of ADP every single time. But CD, Jonathan Taylor, I will never complain about that start. So CLN and Kevin both opening with 2 receivers. We got Neighbors and BTJ and Nico and AJ Brown. All right. Looking good so far. T. Higgins going all the way at 20. That's a little bit of an early T. Higgins. But again, if you don't want to go running back, it does feel like you're kind of pushing, feels like you're pushing or pulling someone up rather when you take Saquon, Bijan, or Gibbs. You kind of ends up with a weird spot. I find myself taking a lot of Trey McBride there. I quite like Trey McBride this season. He's somebody, if I leave the second round with, I'm generally pretty happy. Again, I'm also happy when I get Chase and Bucky, but I have not had too many one holes. Garrett Wilson, is kind of my favorite click in the late second, early third round at receiver. I think he just makes so much sense. But let's see what is coming back around to us. MHJ, McLaurin, and Jigba or Chase Brown. So, do we want one of these receivers or do we want Chase Brown? Somewhat of an interesting question. I really like Chase Brown. I'm going to take McLaurin here at cost, or with a little bit of an ADP discount. He's a guy I've been coming back around to lately. I thought there might be some changes in Washington, but there really didn't end up being. I mean, they brought Debo in, who I think could help kind of stretch the field and keep things humming along for McLaurin. So really not a reason to be out on McLaurin, other than, he's so much more expensive than last year. It does feel like you're there's just a little bit of sticker shock when there's someone that you were used to going quite a bit later is, all the way up in the middle of the third round. So CLN and Kevin are coming up here. Let's see what they do. Chase Brown. Yeah, Chase Brown at 35 is a nice value there, in my opinion. Kevin on the clock. Kevin's got some choices to make himself. He takes Breece Hall. He's a guy that I've been coming around to more and more lately. And he gets this guy Hurts to stack with AJ Brown. So he reaches up to build his stack. But yes, Hurts will not be there at 60. So if you want to stack AJ Brown at this turn, then that's what you got to do. CLN goes double running back, then taking Kyren Williams. And off we go as the board swings around to me. We'll see if Daniels is available. I'll probably just make this a Daniels McLaurin team. If not, then we will have a decision to make. I'd probably take Tet McMillan at 39. So we're just going to, paint by numbers here. We're going to take Terry McLaurin, stack him up with Jaden Daniels. So we're going to start with Daniels, Jonathan Taylor, CeeDee Lamb, and Terry McLaurin. So again, nothing too, this team has built itself a little better than, I'm not saying this team is better, but it definitely was a little more obvious of who to take at each spot, in my opinion, than last time when we were already kind of struggling with an A-Chain Tyreek kind of weirdness going on. JMO up to 44. That's pulling him up pretty heavily. Possibility JMO would have been there at 55, but if you're building a big bet on the Lions, I don't think it's wrong to take JMO here. I really am high on him this season, but that is, could definitely see his ADP moving up. The Jamar Chase drafter does not risk, pushing Burrow And, understandable. He's kind of got a nice start here. Maybe a not dropping the baby type situation going on for that drafter. Have I guilted you enough that you would have passed on Hurts at 54 if Daniels wasn't there for you to take? I don't know that I would have taken Hurts. I don't think I would have taken Hurts there. Honestly, if Daniels and Hurts were there, I might have tried to push it, hoping that Daniels came all the way around because he'll randomly fall sometimes. And just that there's another there's another QB going around the queue. And sometimes people try to stack Hurts with Devonta over here and maybe sneak him by. But if he was there at 54 and I hadn't taken Daniels, I would not have passed him probably. I think Hurts anywhere past about 52. It's hard to ignore that for me. I'm gonna take a very unpopular player here in Joe Mixon, but I do like him this season. Houston's playoff schedule really couldn't be a whole heck of a lot better. I think Houston's offense is going to be improved from last season. And so I'm going to take him. I could have taken Kittle. I could have taken Ridley. There's a few options here. Again, yeah. Oh, I did not have it sorted by ADP. But I think that, to me, Mixon, they added Woody Marks, who I think really is going to take the Dare role over there. I don't think he's a threat to, poach him at the goal line or take too much actual work. I think Woody Marks projects more as kind of a satellite back. So again, there is a chance if that's keeping, Mixon fresh and, I don't mind that addition. I think that's fine. I don't think it's too big of a threat to turn it to some kind of true committee there. In Houston, let's see what our friends are doing. CLN takes Ridley and Olave, two names I like. Olave, I think he fell a little bit, right? I think 62. Now I'm not sure. But anyway, don't mind taking Olave. Took him the last draft. Kevin taking Ken Walker and Rome Odunze. So nice balanced team there with CLN going 4 receivers, 2 backs. Kevin going 3 receivers, 2 backs, and a quarterback. So let's see what comes around to us. Debo would make a lot of sense if he falls. Again, I have a lot of Travion Henderson. I think I'm just going to take Debo and do the double stack. Yeah, this I don't think is going to be particularly rare because the ADPs line up quite well. But it's something that I do want to do when the opportunity presents itself, or at least make sure I get a few teams like this. Because, if the Commanders' offense is humming, there's not a ton of other target competition there. Zach, I could add a very late Zach Ertz and triple stack it. There is certainly some, something to be said for double and triple stacking a running quarterback being bad. So maybe just stopping at 2 receivers. But again, Ertz, where he goes in the 150s, 160s, at that point you're kind of in backup running back range. Don't mind taking him there and just making a pretty big bet on the Commanders. Every time I try to push JMO for JJ, he goes, yeah, I have bad luck pushing JMO. He's a guy I think a lot of people are in on. Debo was a good pick there. Kevin, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I'm trying to actually do something different from the last draft, which is build a good team, a team that I am proud of and I could print out and put on the fridge. That would be something, because the last team is on the fridge of shame. But let's see what is coming up to us. A little clump of receivers. Again, let's see if I get the Golden Pollard decision. Interesting. I think I'm going to take Golden here over Pollard. Partly a little bit of a bye week thing. Week 12 is going to hurt, so maybe adding in another kind of higher end receiver makes sense. Kind of adding to the different teams that I'm betting on. I also have a ton of Pollard, so Golden there for me over Myers. I I don't not like Myers. I do take him occasionally. I like the Raiders offense to be better, but with Gene T coming in, with them spending good draft capital on Betch, with them also taking another receiver in Thornton, it could end up being a little more target competition for Myers than we're projecting. So I don't know. I again don't mind taking Myers, but my preference is to kind of shoot for the moon a little bit more with Golden on this team. Debo might be a player I have 0 of. He should be in that Pittman Ekbuka tier IMO. It's certainly possible, right? Like there's certainly a chance that you're right. What I don't know is how much of his like decline in production is, him drawing the black marble and going over the age cliff, or how much is really that, he had pneumonia and never quite fully recovered. Like, I have to imagine when an NFL player gets pneumonia, it's not like your average Joe who can kind of like rest up. Like, they're trying to push themselves, and sometimes when you push yourself, you don't like fully heal. I don't know. I'm willing to give it a shot. Yeah, that picture of him in that, like, what was it, like some kind of jacket, he looked like a linebacker, which felt kind of bearish. I mean, he looked like Keenan Allen. But again, I'm trusting him to be somewhat of a professional. Maybe just needed a change of scenery. The whole Niners offense last year was kind of weird. So I'm willing to give him a shot. But yeah, like you said, giving him a shot at 66 is certainly certainly a little bit risky. So I understand the hesitation. B-Rob would be just building too many commanders. I like Mooney a lot. Scatabo, would have been interesting. Question here is Aaron Jones or Darnell Mooney. I'm going to take Aaron Jones. He's definitely, definitely not without risk. Adding in Jordan Mason is scary. I don't want no Aaron Jones because when he's healthy, he is very explosive player. And, I think Minnesota's offense is going to be good. They've definitely shown some propensity to want to run the ball. But I don't want to not take him just because they added Jordan Mason. I will take both backs, probably not together. Again, you could make the argument of doing that. I don't think I want to do that on this team, but Mooney would have been an interesting choice, but running back does thin out pretty badly around this range. So let's kind of see what the board brings to us. As far as secondary quarterbacks, we've got Dak and we've got Jordan Love. So let's see what this is a big fall in Mahomes. I'm surprised. He usually gets taken earlier than this. Okay, there goes Mahomes. That makes sense. Interesting spot here. There's definitely a few choices. I could take Travis Kelce. I don't mind that. I could make this another Pittman team. You know what? I'll take Kelce on this crew. I don't have an absolute ton of Kelce. I think he's going to be a guy that comes on later in the season. I worry about them kind of saving him for the stretch run. I don't want to end up with no Kelce. So again, he's kind of one of that like 5 to 8% range type guys. And if I don't take him here where I don't have a tight end, probably not going to take him very often. So I'll add Kelce to the team. And this will probably end up being a 2 QB, 3 tight end team, the way I'm just sort of like projecting how this is going to come out. So if I add like a later Ertz and somebody else, then I am happy with that. Where do you draw the line on stacks? 3 or 4 guys on a team. Ty, I think it kind of depends. Somebody did some studies that said like past 4, it starts being not great, and you start to like lose value in that. But there are instances where when your 18th round pick is such a dart throw anyway, like if I for some reason had Love, Reed, Golden, and Kraft on my team, I don't mind adding Savion Williams as my very last pick. Like I don't feel like, oh, you didn't take Isaac Tesla, you took Savion Williams. Now your team is badly constructed. Like I don't really necessarily want to have like a rule like that. There definitely is a tipping point at some point, but I think a lot of it is sort of like draft capital. It can be a little bit draft capital dependent on how that shakes out. Let's see what comes around. I mean, I think it is impossible for me not to just take Tootin here. And yeah, we're just going to do that. Okay. Perfect. So let's pull the draft board up. I am happy to take Tootin. Let's see what CLN did. CLN, since we last saw, added Ayuk, Hawkinson, Pittman, and Warren. Again, I like all of those players in a vacuum. Kevin goes Burden, Caleb, so he builds out his Bears stack. And then Coleman and Loveland continuing the Bear stack. So yeah, I like the teams that everyone, that the friends and family are putting together here. So good stuff. So this guy knew that Dak was not going to come back to him. That makes sense. He's got Pickens. Again, when I have Daniels, I'm a little, I'm not too upset if I don't end up with the Dak stack. Hopefully we don't get completely frozen out at wide receiver, but I'm afraid, let's see, at 126, yeah, that Betch Kyle Williams range, that's, to me, I'm really not in on Kirk or Hollywood. Those two are very tough clicks for me, particularly Kirk, with Houston drafting two receivers that we were pretty high on, and already having Nico there. I do feel like Kirk could end up, being the odd man out. He was already kind of a part-time player in Jacksonville, was still productive with that, but I could see his snap rate getting kind of trending the wrong way. So Betch would be my preferred pick. I could potentially take Jordan Love and then hope that Kraft comes around, build a little bit of a double stack. I could take Hollywood Brown and just take all of the old people on Kansas City. So we got a few options. Let's see what the board gives. Let's see what the board gives to us here. But yeah, I think I would just windmill and Betch there. And if not Betch, probably Hollywood. But honestly, though, it might be Golden because it might be Love if Betch goes, because I'm going to have to build like another kind of really late QB stack. And we'll see if we want to do that or not. Underdog GM takes Drake May. So we're going to take Betch. And I'm much happier with Betch as my fifth receiver than anyone kind of past that range. It also opens Geno backstacking possibilities, and he's a guy that I like quite a bit as far as a late round QB. Jaden Blue going at 127. He's been a steady climber. Looks like he still has not flipped Javonte, but people will argue about whether he should. Yeah, it's a kind of a weird spot. I think Javonte probably should be going ahead of Blue, and so I'll probably just draft those two at, however the ADP is falling. I don't have a huge stand on that, but it is, the whole running back situation in Dallas is just very odd. CLN taking Tajay Spears makes sense. Tennessee didn't really, they added, not Monangai, the other guy with an M. I am blanking on the other running back that Tennessee added, but it was very late in the draft. So, Spears seems like he'll probably come back with kind of the role he had last year. You're better off playing the Washington side of the Week 17 stack with CD as the bring back. Your boomer running back room is okay. Kevin, thank you for the Kevin stamp of approval on the. And it is bothering me that I am not getting the name of the Tennessee running back. Mullings. There we go. My goodness. Khalil Mullings. So looks like Love could come back. If he does not, then in all likelihood, I will add one of these tight ends in this little clump here. So there goes Love. That is fine. I could potentially still add Kraft to the team. I have a little bit of a bet on the Packers. And again, if I think the Packers are going off, I don't mind not having Love because Jaden Daniels could very easily outscore Love, even in a situation where the Packers pass catchers get there. So I do think it makes sense to kind of continue building out this team bet. Fergie, I could potentially do as, part of a bring back for Dallas. So maybe I'm going to talk myself into doing that instead. I'm not huge on Ferguson, but I have a ton of Kraft, and probably makes more sense for me to do that. Again, I do want to vary my exposures. Kraft has become something of a comfy click for me. So let's just make this Ferguson here, and then we'll pull back up the draft board and see what people are doing. This Underdog MG guy taking three receiver or quarterbacks in a row. Looks like at least McCarthy is stacked there with Jordan Addison. Tua very early here at 142, stacks him with Waddle. So, all right. See, Tua, if you were trying to push Tua into the 150s again, then you met the same fate. Yeah, Mullings. Yes, Nick, thank you. I know it was like on the tip of my tongue, and I could not pull it up. Kevin says, I don't ever have Stroud stacks, so I went off script here. Not my usual build. Well, I mean, that's what you got to do. Like I'm trying to just not have a usual build this season, so I'm all about that. I like your your late Noel Stroud stack, and right, you have Nico too. So yeah, nice. I like what you're doing there. I have so much Kraft, can't stop, won't stop. Yes, I mean it is possible that the leading receiver on the Packers is actually a tight end. I am not saying that is the most likely outcome, but it certainly is in the range of outcomes that Kraft ends up being more of the guy who you need, now that it seems like he probably really has completely cleared one Jordan Musgrave. Did I make up his name? Is it Luke Musgrave? I think it's Luke. I was all ready for a big finale there. I'm just going to take Geno here. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That's playing defense. I'm going to take Geno here because I don't have any other stacks. And if I don't get Geno, I'm going to be really annoyed. And I think I'm probably going to stop this team at 2 QBs. And none of these guys here are really light years better than the guys that I'm going to get next. So I'm fine just locking up my QB stack because I'm going to have to get around the where are you? The Bowers drafter. I guess he already had Dak. If I pulled up the board, maybe I would have said I could have made this push, but I did not want to chance it on this one. And I have a few guys in mind for later clicks that I am happy with. Who doesn't love mac and cheese? Well, we were over in the Matic Discord having a furious argument about Kraft American cheese, and it got pretty heated. Apparently, Kraft American cheese is not actually cheese. If you pull up the package, it says that it's a processed cheese product. However, American cheese is actually a cheese, which is truly cheese, but just not the Kraft version of it. So, I mean, the rabbit hole is deep. The rabbit hole is deep. It does seem like the kind of thing that you could talk to Aaron Rodgers about. I'm sure he would have some strong opinions on cheese and the Anyway, that said, love Kraft. Wow. Zach Ertz is who I thought was going to be here at 163. So I said, no problem. I'm going to push. I'll take Geno and just take Ertz later. So that didn't work. That did not work, dear listeners. But I think I could add Austin Eckler to this team. I think that would be I think that would make sense, and then take no more commanders. But again, projecting kind of as to keep his role as the pass catching running back in Washington, show that he still has some burst left. He had a pretty wicked concussion late in the season that kind of torpedoed him down the stretch. So, we'll see there. I don't mind adding him there. So I guess to answer the question, this we'll end the stack with 4 total commanders, but Zach Ertz will not be one of them. So we've got a 2-5-5-2. So we've got Daniels and Geno, running back room of Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, and then Tootin and Eckler. Eckler adding to my aged running back room. Wide receivers of CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Matthew Golden, and Jack Betch. So we will we'll see how this goes. Maybe a little light in the receiving department, but again, really counting on at least one of those commanders plus a Lamb to kind of jumpstart things. And we'll see how all of this ends up. Firemouth goes there, 168. Let's see what CLN and Kevin do. CLN adds T-Law and Strange, so he builds this late. He's able to build a late Jacksonville stack, and you have, if I'm not mistaken, you have BTJ. So that came together nicely for you there, and plus Cam Ward. Kevin adding Tank Bigsby and QJ. Again, really like Tank Bigsby, QJ. Your mileage may vary on that selection, but you know what? It's I have trouble. I had trouble clicking QJ last year, and he just shoved it down my throat until the very end of the season. I do think Trey Harris might eat QJ's lunch this season. I think it might truly finally be Jover for him, but you never know. We never know. I don't have very much Wandale, and I'm just going to take... No. Yeah, all right, I'll take Wandale. I really don't click Wandale very much. But again, I kind of want to vary some of these later round guys. Pat Bryant is definitely a more fun click than Wandale is. But, in the interest of keeping things different, I will make that selection. He's, for some reason, feels like a guy who just can't do anything other than catch the ball 6 yards downfield and fall over. Just never had an explosive play in the last 3 years. But he is out there. He's out there running routes, and randomly we'll have a spike week or two. So we'll add him to this wide receiver room. So now we're up to 6 receivers. I think I want one more running back, tight end, and receiver to kind of wrap this crew up. Pull up the draft board, and I think we're going to get you out of here on time before Best Ball Breakfast kicks in. So Pat Bryant goes, K. Dotton goes, and Rico Dowdle. Dowdle may have been a better pick for me in this room. I think he's a guy we're sleeping on a little bit. It could be more 1-2 punchy than we want, especially as someone with a reasonable sized Chuba Hubbard bag. That might have been a better pick than Wandale. But again, I don't know if I've clicked Wandale this whole post draft cycle. Gesicki and Schultz. So Kevin double tapping some tight ends to add to Loveland, a couple of veterans to add to the rookie tight end. I think that makes sense. Rookie tight ends can come along slow even when they are big time prospects. So, getting in some immediate production guys certainly makes sense there. We'll see. CLN takes the shot on Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen at this point does make sense. I mean, if he doesn't retire when he signs, he's probably going to move up at least a round or two, right? Kind of wherever he goes. I have no idea where he's going to go at this point, but surely once he has a team attached to him, just by virtue of people trying to build stacks and week 17 stuff, I think he's going to be a small riser. So things are coming back to us. Let's see, any running backs make more sense than others, or tight ends? Chig or Sanders? Probably, let's see, what about bye weeks? I have 2 week 10 bye weeks. I probably should not take Chig. So Jatavion Sanders will be the pick if he's there. If not, then I will take Juwan Johnson. So, right, they're both week 10. Yes, they're week 10. Yeah, I'll just do this so that I don't completely eat a zero. And again, I'm going to be taking just one of these late round flyers at running back and receiver to round things out. So I'll pull this up so people can see who's going. Justice Hill, Giddens, Shipley, kind of this range of backup running back or kind of satellite back player here. Justice Hill. Justice Hill's one of those guys that kind of just has his own job. If something happens to Henry, I don't think Hill's going to markedly change his workload, but I think he's a fine pick because he's still going to do things even when Henry is healthy. Oh, crazy to be named after synthetic cheese while playing for the Packers. Yeah, it is odd. It is odd that happened. Definitely an alternate reality. That was my point. My point was that the universe was telling us to stack Love and Kraft because we all love Kraft cheese, and they play in Green Bay, the Packers. Cheese Packers. I mean, hello, the universe is literally telling us what to do. And somehow this was controversial. I don't know. Morning, Chad, still loving our team from Friday. Meg, thank you so much, first of all, for stopping by. I think our team came out awesome. I really liked how that team came out. And yes, if you do not subscribe to the Fanspeak Network, you are missing out because they do some great stuff over there. And I had so much fun on Friday appearing on their Friends of Best Ball show. So yeah, definitely stop by them. We built a hyper fragile BBM team and it was pretty cool. I had somebody in mind here and now it is escaping me. I'm just going to take Jordan James on this team, trying to mix up my late round flyers at running back. So we'll take James. If he's the backup in San Francisco, I think he's going to end up being a huge riser. And then I've got some real disgusting final clicks for us for this team. So, definitely don't want to miss that. QJ was my only week 17 correlation pick, and it was past ADP. Gotcha. Yeah, I did not see the ADP value there. So, I hear you. Wasn't an awesome feeling. Yeah, I know. Anytime you click, I mean, there's a price for everybody. So it does make sense. Now that I drafted him, he's definitely going to be a Steeler or next Will Fuller. Yeah, that's a tough scene. You don't steal. It's funny how Steelers are like the boogeyman for wide receivers this season. Still surprised Gesicki goes so late. One of my favorite late round clicks. Meg, yeah, me too. And it's, yeah, I am surprised he's been going late. They didn't bring anybody in. I know how much they loved Eric All, and he's not playing this season. So he was like a late season. I can't remember if it was week 16 or 17. He had a very late. I think it was week 17, spike week, which was huge. So yeah, he's going way too late for the starting receiver in there. I'm here for more cheese discussion melted into my Bixby Discord. Yes, well, the Davis Maddock Discord was fertile ground for both of those things. Bindles, thank you so much for coming by. A slop king, if I've ever seen one. Yes, Bindles is one of the legends in the training channel of the Maddock Discord. As a workout king, but also a slop king. Make some of the most nutritious yet aesthetically unpleasing meals you'll ever see. But that's what we're about in the training community. So I will queue up a name that does not get drafted, probably should not get drafted, and you probably should wait to hear if this guy is still even makes a team in training camp. But I'm going to take Dante Thornton to add to my Las Vegas Raiders of Las Vegas stack here. Big guy, 6'2", projects as a burner. They took him later in the draft. But I think it's possible that the youth movement is here in Las Vegas. I think he's going to be currently pretty darn unowned. And in the puppy, I think there's a chance the puppy closes before we hear how it's going to shake out. I know they still have Trey Tucker. This could be taking a 0. So this is not a pick to take lightly. As they say, do your own research, not financial advice. But we are going to take him. Oh no, you took the wrong Johnson. All right, let me pull up the board and I'll see what everybody else did. We had CON took Juwan Johnson, Jackson Dart, Keenan Allen late, and Kevin took Jerome Ford and Wicks to round it out. So, all right, I am happy with this team. I am not familiar with this fan speak. Is there a link? I think you can click on. Let me see if I can do this. I don't know. Well, Kevin, I will message it to you. I'm still learning how to do this, but yeah, Fanspeak Network, they're awesome over there, and I certainly recommend people subscribe. Slop boys, we need the slop bowl. We need to pressure Davis into making the slop bowls. But everybody, thank you so much for coming by. The timing worked out perfectly on this. We are going to get out of here before Best Ball Breakfast. Obviously, if you're here, you certainly know of Pete's Best Ball Breakfast stream. So I'm going to be heading over there into the chat. And as always, please like and subscribe. We're on the road to 100 subs. I think I'm at 68 last I checked. So I am excited. We're going to get there sooner than later. But everybody, thank you again. And I'll see y'all again soon. Take care.